Awesome.
Of scotch and just be like fucking blotto. Like,
You'll just start like ranting in the
Lauren, hello, like a bar.
it's so sassy.
I'm so excited to see you like this.
I had like a gin and tonic on New Year's Eve, and I like don't remember the like half an hour after I had it, and then I like fell asleep on the couch.
That's great.
I was like, one gin and tonic. I never drink hard alcohol, so at least no one will see my face. I'll just like cover it up.
It'll be wonderful.
Red in the face.
I love, yeah.
Nick, while I have you, quickly, there's nothing that I need to tell you about except for that there's 3 packages in the booth that need to get sent out with CanPar this week. The other packages for that delivery, Noah took them out already. It's just the ones that are in the booth.
Okay.
And there's a little note attached to them, and that's basically the only thing you need to know.
You need this fit up.
Cheese. 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 No, Timu.
Yeah, when do you want it scheduled for?
8:30?
8:30 or 15? I have to run and go.
Yeah. We're scheduling our Uber Eats order for.
Yeah. I'm drinking the Tisto, Rachel. It's really delicious.
Drinking what? The Tisto?
The Tisto.
Oh.
It's kind of like champagne.
Delish.
So, you know, tell people that. Oh shit.
I'm jealous. I'm taking home a bottle of that Syrah, that Telos.
Oh, the Telos.
Oh. You're the one paying for it, yeah. Nick, do you know much about like the Australian whiskey situation?
No.
Oh,
It's coming out of Tasmania. Right?
yeah, there's like it's a whole thing in Tasmania.
No, I don't want you confusing me. I don't want any I don't want any mention of it. Every time someone mentions Australia, I'm just like, Sure. 5 minutes. How exciting.
I went like very deep on whiskey like a while ago, and it just doesn't stick. Like I just don't care. So, sorry.
You gotta drink more.
Well, that's it. It's like I don't drink it, so I'm like, oh, there's like Indian whiskey, and then I'm just like, wow, and then I just like don't ever,
it hurts.
I just like don't ever think about it again.
Yeah, that's kind of how I feel about Riesling.
The shade of it all. My goodness.
That's gonna be the zinger for the YouTube video.
Yeah, I know, it's my secret Somm shame.
No, it's fine. You and Bodner both share it, so I think you're gonna be fine.
Yeah, that's fair.
I have like lots of Somm shames. Like I love California. I love Napa Cab. People are like, I would never. I'm like, have you tried it though? Like,
You
it's
and Eden.
delicious.
Yeah.
3, 2.
Water.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, if you want to be over here.
Yeah. Well, then I can't get.
Now this whole room is going to smell like Scotch. So
It's gonna be great.
Wait, I need to get my little.
gotta chug my Tiso so I can use this as a glass. I love that. I'm gonna have to introduce you.
I'm like, should I do
He can
that?
be on screen. He can be on screen. I don't care.
I can do that. That's fine.
That's
It
fine.
looks like there's like some kind of ghost in your background. It's,
Body on.
Yeah, I'll be like.
no, I love it. I love it.
It's fine.
100% shout out to Pat. I'm no issues.
And my dog who's wandering around somewhere.
That's okay. My dog's crying at the door, so.
I'm not here to plug myself. I'm not plugging myself by being here, by the way.
You can.
I don't have anything to
Do you have
plug.
anything to plug?
No.
No.
Not yet.
I'll say, do you have anything to plug? Any restaurants people should go to? I don't know. Or wines people should drink or anything. I'll just like,
Yeah.
What's your recommendation of the day?
Wine
Whatever.
podcasts people should listen to.
I've got a map. Oh, I should show you the map in the last 2 minutes. Boop. So, map.
Ew.
But I'll just do that as the like broad when I introduce it. Lowlands, Islay, Highlands, Speyside, Campbelltown. Is that islands? Is that another thing? I don't know.
Yeah, we'll talk about it. The islands are like not specifically a like recognized region, but they still are a thing.
Great. So why don't I introduce like generic Scotch and I'll show the map and then you can like run through the regions, right?
Yeah, sure.
Great. And then I can turn that off. But then I've got like Auchentoshan's here. Aultmore is here, which is kind of there.
Yeah.
And then Talisker is obviously there. So we'll be able to like show people where in the map it is, which I think is good. I'm going to mute Rach. I'm going to stop her video. So it's just us two. Are you ready? How are you feeling? Confident?
I feel okay. I feel a little nervous, but
How you doing? Just, edited is such a loose term. Edited the video for Chablis and posted it on the internet. And I had to spend an hour listening to my own voice and it was horrible. Not horrible, it was just very bizarre.
anytime I see myself on someone's like video or anything, I'm like, oh, it's tough.
They say that you just have to move through that, and then after a few minutes, it's fine. You kind of just ignore it all. So
yeah.
So that was fine. I got over it, but then I could post it on YouTube, and I can't stream it, but I will be able to post this to YouTube tonight, so people can watch, which is fine. I don't know how to edit anything. Oh look, we should start now. You ready?
Ready.
Action. Go. What if no one came? That would be really strange. Oh, 2, 3. Oh, okay. Here we keep coming. Hey everyone, welcome. Before we officially start, make sure you shout out in the chat. I was on the Great Witches chat on the weekend, and I realized that you can't see who's in attendance. I'm like, I can because I'm the boss. So make sure you introduce yourself if you feel if you want to do that. Otherwise, cool. Otherwise, we're going to get started. Welcome everyone to Wine Coach at Home. My name's Nick. I'm the head som at Peter Pantry. I'm excited to do this one. I'm a little scared, I'm not going to lie. Scotch is not something I'm at any way confident about, but I do like drinking it, so I thought that was a good idea. And I think it's going to be a lot of fun. So we put some fun scotches together. We're going to taste. We're going to talk about Scotch. I know it's a big topic of discussion and there's a lot to cover. So make sure you, if you have any questions, put it in the chat, please, please, please. Otherwise, we can't answer your questions. Before we move on, let me introduce our special co-host for this evening. She's a great friend. She's an amazing som, and funnily enough, she's really good at Scotch. So I'm excited to bring her on so that she can explain everything, and I don't have to. Welcome, Ange.
Hi. I'm so excited to be here.
Great. What have you been up to? How was your day?
Day was chill. I mean, all the days have been pretty chill.
Yeah. Yeah, sorry. It's a triggering subject, that one.
No, it's fine. I need like things to watch if anyone has recommendations.
Oh yeah, okay, great. Any YouTube, Netflix, Amazon Prime recommendations in the chat, please. And obviously, as always, our secret som is hiding in the chat, Rachel. She's currently still at work. The shop is still open for another hour, so she's going to be doing 2 jobs at the same time, which I'm super excited about. And then if you have any questions, she'll be in the chat. Rachel, great colleague, has a really cool podcast that we're excited, called Craft Wine, that we're always excited to listen to, and you should too. If you haven't, download it where you get your podcasts, rate and subscribe. Scotch. Woo.
Let's chat.
Very intense in very many ways, in so many different ways. Obviously, it's a liquor, it's not wine. So having 3 half glasses of Scotch tonight, I may be slurring my words by the end of the hour, but that's okay.
It'll be fine. We'll be fine.
Why don't you tell us what's the Cliff Notes version of what is Scotch? What are we drinking? What's in our glass?
So we essentially have 3 different Scotches from 3 different areas in Scotland. Scotch is essentially, what makes it is the rule is that it needs to be spent 3 years in maturing in oak, and then that's like kind of certified Scotch. We have all single malt, so that's one malt from 1 distillery. I tend to focus more on single malts than blended. I'm not as well versed in the blended, so luckily we have 3 single malts here. So we're doing, our first one is from Speyside.
Oh,
and
let me before you go, I'll put the map on so that people can see.
Okay.
Because they don't have to look at my face, they can at least concentrate on something else. This is pretty good. Boom. So this is the map of Scotland. And then Ash, if you want to go into like the regions, I guess.
Yeah, for sure. So there's kind of 5 main accepted regions with a 6th bonus kind of. So there's the Highlands, Speyside, Lowlands, Campbellton, and Islay, with like a 6th bonus region called just like Islands in general. So what we're going to focus on today, we have 3. The first is from Speyside. So that's up northeast mainland Scotland. And so this one is typically known to be a little bit lighter in style, more approachable. Of course, there is no 100%. It's kind of, you know, choose your own adventure in terms of a distiller can choose to be a little bit heavier or lighter, whatever. But typically, Speyside is known to be a little bit more approachable in style. And then our second one is coming from the Lowlands, which is southern mainland. And that one is actually known to be the lightest in style, mainly because of it triple distills. So back in the day, everyone in the Lowlands triple distilled, which we can get into a little bit more after. But this makes it more refined, super light on the palate, which means essentially the most approachable. And then the third one here is coming from the islands, so our little bonus region. And the islands kind of all surround Scotland. There is Orkney at the very top, northern mainland. And then there's Lewis on the left-hand side, the farthest west island. Then there's Skye, which is what we're going to be drinking tonight. And then there's Mull, there is Arran, and then Islay is another island, but it's kind of because it's so legendary and it has so many influential distillers, that's its own region as well. And then there's Campbellton, which is close to Islay as well, and that's its own region, but we don't have any Campbellton tonight.
It's hard to find, isn't it?
Campbellton is just, if you're looking at—
sorry, I meant like the whiskies are hard to find.
Oh. I was like, right there.
I can read that.
Yeah, I mean, because of the release dates of whiskey and the length that it spends in barrel and stuff, it's not easy to come across and come by in the LCBO. So
Wonderful. We should start tasting some Scotch, but I mean, but before we start, so we're going to taste a Scotch tonight. Me and Ash are going to taste in a specific way. We're going to taste and experience it like straight, neat from the sample that everyone has, and then we're going to add a few drops of water, and that helps to open up the aromatics and the flavors, and just give you a little more space to taste everything. We encourage you to follow along and taste the same way so that you sort of get that sort of two-tiered or two-level approach, but not policing how you taste it. Do whatever you want.
I'm a big believer in do whatever makes you happy, floats your boat. I don't typically put water or much water in any of the Scotch that I drink. And if you go to Scotland, that's like a big no-no. Like everyone puts water in their Scotch. That's how they do it. That's how you should do it. But again, it's like whatever you like. Like, you know, I have two, so of the same, and I have one with water, one without, because to try them side by side. Mm-hmm. I just like to see their different expressions with and without is, I think, really interesting.
Cool. Scotch number one, Aultmore of the Foggy Moss, Speyside single malt Scotch whisky, aged 12 years. That's the bottle shot. I've got to really work on my lighting next week so that people can see white labels on the screen. And I will put the details in the chat. Boom. I love this Scotch. It's just kind of, some of the team who are watching can sort of testify to this. We did a Scotch tasting like early 2020 before everything, and we bought some really cool Scotches for the wine list or for the beverage list and have some really fun with it. And this was like the one that kind of like really made me happy and like was a style that I'm not used to drinking, but I really like the story and I just really like the Scotch.
So because I always hear you talk about how much you love with this one, and I'm just wondering, like, what is it that jumped out of the glass or was on the palate for you that like made you remember it, made you love it?
I like just the fruit, like those fruit tones that you sort of these high tones, lemongrass. It's all these like my my preferred style of Scotch is probably more on the heavier body peatier style. So having this Scotch that sort of was on that other side of the spectrum that had these like fruitier, herbal, like citrus, almost citrus notes was really fun. I also liked, you know, it is a kind of, I don't know, secret Scotch. It's not super well known. They believe in sort of, well, I don't know if they believe in it. It's like marketed as like sort of a more low intervention style of Scotch, which I kind of find a lot of parallels with like wine, low intervention wine, and this was kind of really intrigued me, and it's just delicious.
Yeah. I mean, I think on the nose, it's so
Haven't tasted-
surprising. What?
I haven't tasted anything yet. I'm a little scared.
Go slow, it's fine. Little sips. I mean, for me, when I first smelt it, like Granny Smith apple, pear, and it has this on the palate. It also has this like intense grapefruit, like the rind.
Yeah.
Like bitter grapefruit vibe that I like. It is because again, I'm a peaty girl, and so this was like, oh shoot, like there's so much more like delicate nuance going on here that I sometimes miss out on with the peatier Scotches. So I think that's interesting. And when I was researching this, you know, out of the lineup here, it's the lightest visually in color. And I would assume in terms of palette as well. But when I was researching this one, everyone was saying, you know, this one can really take a lot of water, and it really opens up with a lot of water, which I was surprised, because I was like, you know, the lighter, you kind of think it doesn't really need it.
I'm gonna put my water in now.
Yeah, I'll try the one with the water too.
So one of the things, I really liked is that like it has a kind of like really interesting history. It's owned by Bacardi now, but in the 90s when Bacardi went to purchase it, they purchased Dewar's. So Dewar's is this big Scotch company distillery, and Dewar's owns Aultmore as a part of their portfolio. But there was talk when Bacardi was negotiating the purchase of Dewar's that Aultmore was going to be taken out of kids, and they were like, no, Aultmore has to be included. And I thought that was really interesting, because as someone who doesn't sort of understand, like really pay attention much to like the trends and the business of Scotch, and it is a huge business in terms of just like how corporations vie for like these distilleries and like what they can do and how do they market it and how they make it better. It was really interesting that like Bacardi, which is one of the biggest sort of conglomerations in the world in terms of liquor, was just like, if we don't get this, we don't get anything. So
yeah, that was kind of their breaking point of their line. They drew the line there.
Super interesting.
Yeah, it really is interesting to hear that, only because it is a little bit more of like an unknown, or you know, it's not one of the biggest names you hear in Scotch. So you know, there must be something really special here.
Oh, so
which
good.
I think you can taste. It's so clean. It's so pretty. There's that like light honey you get from the like heather.
I'm sorry to interrupt. I feel really bad. Like, people are asking, how do you taste Scotch? We're just talking and tasting, and like people trying to explain it like in the chat how to taste something, especially Scotch. So maybe we should just like give people a like, you know, 2-3 step instruction on how they would taste Scotch, or how you would taste Scotch. Ash, you're the expert.
Expert. I like it a lot. I mean, with any liquor, you don't want to overwhelm your nose right away. So I wouldn't go shoving your whole face into the glass like you might do with a wine. Obviously, because the alcohol is quite different, so you don't want to blow out your nose. So I would keep, you know, you can do your typical wine swirl, you can do that, and just kind of like graze it back and forth to get some of those lighter nuances, like, and then, you know, once you feel comfortable with the scent and the smell, you can go in a little bit deeper, and then just take a tiny sip. Like, it's not a shot, you're not taking even like a half ounce of tea, like you're literally taking a tiny little sip. You can swish it on your mouth and just let it go down. And like, you're not like, you're not doing the pretentious wine silliness, but yeah.
Also, like there's always a burn, especially when you're having Scotch or any straight liquor. So like you need to get your palate used to that sort of like that sensation, and then once that tingly burn's gone, then you can begin to taste it. I just put the map. I've got the map up, but Aultmore is just here, which is just sort of here in the Speyside region, just near the Bay of Spey, which is this little bay here, which is why it's called Speyside. That's all. I don't know if anyone has been to Speyside. Anyone been to Aultmore? I mean, if you have, please let us know so that I can make you join the chat and I don't have to talk about anything.
Yeah, I mean, I wish I could say that I've been.
Oh, let's put that on our bucket list.
It's like number
of Scotland.
for sure.
Do that and drink Scotch all day. One thing I noticed, and I didn't really put the ABV in the chat, but this is like our strongest Scotch that we're drinking, like in terms of ABV, right? So this is 46, the others 43, and then 45.8. But like, it's not drinking intent, like the alcohol isn't like burning and like overwhelming the Scotch. I don't know. Like I really enjoy how like easy drinking this is, and like not like intense, like that sort of hard liquor intense kind of feeling.
Yeah, I think you're right, and I think once you add that water, the mouthfeel becomes so much rounder.
Oh,
and it makes, it really helps it.
Smooth finish. Like I'm drinking this like wine. I'm gonna pay for it in about, well, right now I can feel it. So yeah, better put that Domino's order in so that I've got something to eat at 8 o'clock.
I told you I Uber pre-ordered.
Yeah, no, you were definitely on it. One thing we should probably talk about, I want to talk about, is on the bottle of Aultmore, they say no chill filtering. We don't chill our whiskey, filter our whiskey, feel free to add ice, and don't worry if it goes cloudy. What does that mean? So there is this property in Scotch that is that 46% alcohol or below, if you add water or you chill it down, it can go cloudy. So there are molecules, flavor molecules, esters, ethers, whatever, that are in the Scotch that if they get cold, they sort of make the Scotch go cloudy. So in order to create a consistent product so that when people drink Scotch at a restaurant, I was gonna say something pejorative, but I decided not to. When people drink Scotch at a restaurant or are spending hundreds of dollars on Scotch, then you don't want your Scotch to go cloudy. So after you've paid a lot of money, so they created this process where they would chill the Scotch down, make it go cloudy, and then filter all those like molecules out, so that no matter what the temperature, no matter what the ABV, it remained clear and like crystal and delicious. Well, not delicious, just clean and clear.
Yeah.
And it kind of got me down this rabbit hole where why they're mentioning it, why is that important? And then I mean, as with any sort of controversial topic, there's no right or wrong. It's like some people believe that by chill filtering, you're filtering out the properties. Some people say nothing, it means nothing. It doesn't affect the taste or flavor of Scotch. But it is something that like people are using as a marketing tool, especially with the natural wine movement. So that like low intervention, like I was saying before, what attracted me to this Scotch was the fact that it was marketed as a sort of a low intervention Scotch, and so I definitely haven't explored chill filtering or different Scotches that do or don't to like have my own opinion. But it is an interesting thing that you will see on a label, and you'll be like, what does that mean? It means that sometimes Scotches that are 46% or below go cloudy when the temperature is lowered. And the solution is either you chill filter or you distill it to be higher than 46% alcohol, and then it doesn't happen to it. So I don't know. Do you have an opinion? I always feel like I'm rambling on about something that no one cares about.
I mean, honestly, I don't care either which way. I think it's a little silly if you like stake your flag in it too much. Like if you like say this makes a far superior situation if you don't, or if you do, I don't know. I'm not sold on that. I haven't been able to compare the chilled and the non-chilled side by side enough. You know, I think marketing was a word you mentioned, and I think that's a strong possibility. With anything, marketing is a tool that they use, and you know, with new generations or new trends, people use new marketing techniques. And I think with like, we've seen the wine world go in a very natural, low intervention way. And this could be or could not be the Scotch world noticing that trend and kind of locking onto it or whatever. But you know, I don't care either way. I mean, do whatever you want.
You heard it here first. Ash says do whatever you want. She doesn't care.
I don't care.
Hot take from Ash. I love it. I've also drunk this entire Scotch. This does not bode well. And if you think this is me in fine form, wait till you see me in 2 Scotches later.
I look forward to Talisker then.
That's also why I love it. Like I could drink that very easily. Yeah. I liked it with a little water. I thought it brought out that pepper and that like spice that people were mentioning in the Scotch. Yum, delicious. Oh yeah, and yes, you should be adding water now. I mean, just add water when you've had the neat experience with it straight, and you've gone like, okay, this is intense. I've had this. Just add water straight away, and then drink the rest.
Yeah.
This is going over there.
I mean, yeah. Trying it with and without. For someone that doesn't ever add water, this is like a really good learning moment for me, just to be like, oh yeah, like things are better other ways. Like you don't need to always do what you do when you drink Scotch. Like experiment, have fun, try it each way. I mean, throw a cube of ice in there if you want. Like do whatever you want, you know. It's always cool to just see what happens.
What is do you have a favorite Scotch cocktail, Ash? I put you on the spot, and I promised I wasn't going to do that, but then it just came to my head.
You know, okay.
Aultmore affecting my brain.
I do have a favorite. Well, it's not like a known Scotch cocktail, but I have my partner is here sitting here.
Woo!
Anyway, and in our early moments of courting, or whatever you want to call it, he knew that I loved heavier, peatier Scotches, and so he came up with a cocktail for me that sealed the deal.
You have to put that in the chat. You have to put the cocktail in the chat.
It's honestly one of the best cocktails I've ever had, and it was like, if you like peaty Scotch, because I'm not really a cocktail drinker, so it was more just like a volumized version of my favorite Scotch without drinking 4 ounces of my favorite Scotch.
I can
but I mean, you know, I really do. What I love too is like when someone takes a little spritzer bottle and coats a cocktail with like a
like classic no, it's gone.
It's fine.
That would always have a Lefroy or a Lagavulin, Spritz,
Yeah, that
Azarac.
yes, it just like it can really take a cocktail to another level.
I'm going to tell you my favorite cocktail. But Ash, you need to find downtime while we're talking to type in the recipe for that Scotch cocktail.
Okay.
'Cause
I'll
A,
have
you didn't say the name, and B, we can trademark it to Pat. That's amazing talent. So
we'll make sure he gets the credit.
my favorite cocktail is, there's two. Highball, which is this Japanese style of cocktail, lemon, scotch, soda water. I was in Japan 2 years ago, drank a ton of these, and they're in cans in the 7-Eleven. You just like,
They
love it.
love that.
Love that.
Love it.
And yes, Forster mentioned in the chat who worked at Peter Pan, we made a variation of this highball almost all through 2020, which was yuzu, sake, scotch, lemon, and soda, which was delicious. And then a penicillin, which is one of my favorite.
Yeah,
I just love a peat-driven scotch with honey. It just has this like delicious, beautiful kind of roundness, heathery kind of deliciousness.
Yeah, I mean, very fair, very popular.
There's a cat. What's the cat's name?
George Michael Booth Jr.
I don't know if it was a Singer's reference or Arrested Development answer. Scotch number 2.
Number 2.
Auchentoshan.
So Auchentoshan. So this is coming from the Lowlands.
I'm going to put the map up now.
Cool.
That's Auchentoshan there.
Yeah. So coming from the Lowlands, and the thing to know about the Lowlands is that they're known for triple distillation. So essentially it gets distilled one more time than most other whiskeys, which creates a more refined, lighter expression. You know, throughout my research, I haven't found an exact pinpointed reason as to why the Lowlands, and really only the Lowlands, were into triple distillation. I have a few kind of educated guesses. Back in like the late 1700s, early 1800s, they were known for creating pretty rough styles of whiskey. And I think this was their way of making it more English. Yeah. And so I think that's kind of why they triple distill versus everyone else that doubles. But essentially what that means is you just get a lighter style. However, this bottle...
Glenmorangie. Is Glenmorangie? No. Is that Lowlands?
Glenmorangie is Highlands. I want to say...
I don't think of something... There's a very classic kind of like Lowlands Scotch, but it's just like... I can't remember. It's on the top of my head.
Glenkinchie.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Those are the two main ones that I think we get here. I don't know of really anything else. But the reason why I chose this one is because even though Auchentoshan is known for being very light in style, this expression, it's called the 3-wood. This expression is actually, as you can see by the color, it's much more heavy and expressive in terms of the nose and the palate. So
delicious. It smells amazing.
There's a lot going on. It's very sweet.
I like that fig, the fig and prunes. Yeah, absolutely.
I know. I said earlier to Pat that I thought it was like a Christmas cake.
Yeah.
Which I don't love Christmas cake. But he's like, I love this. I'm like, oh, it's not really like my jam. But essentially, this one's
so many controversial things being said, Ash.
That's my vibe, you know. I'm all about the controversy. So this one spends about 10 years in a bourbon cask.
Wow.
And then they take it out and they throw it in a Oloroso cask for about a year. And then they take it out again and they throw it in a PX sherry cask for about almost another year, just under another year. That's bad. I will never say that again. So anyways, the color is obviously so much different than the other two. And you're getting that color from those casks.
Mm.
And so this is visually, it's a very clear reason or distinction as to what different casks can do to Scotch.
Sorry, David was asking that I show the label. I wasn't sure if it was before or after I said Pedro Jimenez, but I'm gonna pretend that it's after. That's really the question for you. Does it did it go into detail like how like the age of the bourbon cask? Like, was it an old bourbon cask? Was it, because they have to use, when they make bourbon, they have to use fresh wood, do they not? Yes.
Yeah, so bourbon always has to go into a new a fresh cask. So they have a billion one-use casks. So then they ship them to Scotland, and the majority of Scotch is aged in bourbon.
Right.
And typically they'll refill maybe twice, because if you look at Scotch, it's, you know, it's not spending 3 years, like a lot, 12, 18, 20, like there's a lot of time there. So you don't, it's not like you're refilling. So most of the time you'll get a bourbon cask that's been used once by the bourbon guys, fill it. So I would imagine, based on the flavor and the color, that it is just that one use bourbon cask.
An American oak, so you're going to get more high tone,
Yeah, vanilla.
like dill, vanilla, coconuts. Where French oak tends to have a bit more sort of lower tones. And then, so that's bourbon. Great. Bourbon's American whiskey. We understand that. What Oloroso? I really handballing this to you. Tell the people about Oloroso.
Well, in terms of the cask and what it does, it really adds this dried fruit character, this nutty dried fruit characteristic.
Yeah, absolutely.
And obviously that color. So it just adds this level of richness.
Yeah, so Oloroso is a style of sherry, a fortified wine from Spain. And sherries are definitely all barrel aged in various different ways. This isn't a sherry lesson. We're not going to go into the specifics of styles of sherry, but know that like the different styles of sherry have different aging sort of circumstances and things that happen during the aging process that differ. So a Pinot sherry is very different from a Pedro Jimenez sherry, which is very different from Oloroso. So that's where you're getting that sort of nutty sort of character, and especially that color is a lot to do with the Oloroso. And then Pedro Jimenez, which is also another style of sherry, but that tends to be a really sweet and dark colored, where I think we're getting all those sort of dark, the fruits and those dried fruits, because Pedro Jimenez tends to go with lots, like tends to have this thick, for anyone who has had it, it's, you know, it's thick, it's unctuous, it's dark fruits, very sweet. A very rare style of sherry that's sort of more of a dessert style. And you can sort of see all those elements sort of playing into this Scotch.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's really fun. I think there's like this intense drying, like this like palate drying thing that's like just like stripping your mouth of saliva. It's pretty hard.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
I don't know. I'm on the fence. I'm still deciding. I have
water. I'm adding water now, everyone.
Don't add too much. So throughout
we should
into it, this one, it's actually recommended that you add very little water.
Okay, I've got 3 drops because I have a little baby teaspoon.
Adorable. But yeah, there's that like coffee that
it gets smokier, I think.
There's like a brown sugar vibe, like cocoa. It's really deep.
The Aultmore for me drank almost like a wine. Like it had a very wine kind of profile. It sort of hit all those kind of centers in my brain. This has like it doesn't drink like a wine for me. It's very much a spirit, but like full of these flavors that sort of really go well together. And I think it's a really smart combination of barrels, the Oloroso, the PX, and the bourbon. I think they really work well together and bring different sort of character to the Scotch. And
Yeah,
you still see 3 wood a lot, don't you? But I guess it's different combinations.
Yeah, I mean, when I was looking at it, I saw a little video from someone from the distillery, and they found out after they put the Scotch into the third barrel, into the PX, that it was PX.
Oh.
So they didn't know
Wow.
that it was PX barrels until after, and so they kind of stumbled upon this collection of flavors by accident, which I think is always fun. But for me, it's kind of giving me like when you have like a good rum.
Yeah, is that sweet kind of like molasses, burnt sugar, caramel. I mean, caramel is obvious, but
Yeah.
oh, this is wonderful.
Yeah, I think it's growing on me as I warm up.
Not her favorite, everyone. This is when Thoms say I'm warming up to it, and all like have a very ambivalent tone, it means they do not like this. So this is not, they're not enjoying this at all.
But I mean, I'm really happy that I think I made you choose this one actually, but I'm really happy.
You did, absolutely. I loved it. This is such a good choice. I think it's so interesting.
I think cask finish is such a thing for Scotch. So I'm always happy to try if it says like it's finished in port cask, or if it's finished in whatever. I'm always happy to try, because it's so fun to see what those things can impart onto the Scotch.
Yeah, and this is a good segue into cask finishing, because it is a big part of sort of the markability of Scotch and like these new Scotches. Like there's a lot of Auchentoshan is really good for it. They like have a yearly release of like a new style that they've created, or Lefroy do it every year, and there are numerous like distilleries that sort of have these cask finished Scotches. And I've had sherry, obviously, port, bourbon, tequila. There's a wide range of like different styles that impart different flavors, and you'll see it a lot. And like, I don't know, I think it's a really interesting way to like add dimension to Scotch, especially if it's like a yearly release that it comes out every year. I think you get a slightly different perspective to a Scotch that you might really love. And obviously it's not trying to improve, or it's just bringing a slightly different flavor element to that Scotch to sort of see what happens. And just in the same way we add ice or we add water to Scotch, I think adding a different cask sort of brings out certain flavors, certain other ones sort of fall back a little. I think it's really wonderful.
Because if you have the Auchentoshan 12-year, kind of I think that's their flagship. It's super different than this. It is super light. So if that's something that you really know is them, and then you buy this and you'd be like, whoa, So I think it's a really fun way to experience your favorite distillery in a different way. I think it's always, there's no rules, but like, it's always good to kind of understand maybe the flagship product first, if you want, and then go to their fun side projects, their fun side expressions.
It's also really, I think, like exploring beverage is all about like connections. So like wine is big with that, spirits, obviously, beer. So like tasting this makes me go, okay, I really want to revisit an Oloroso sherry, and I really want to revisit a Pedro Jimenez, and like remember what those beverages were. and just like, and I think it's if you like this, like look for when you go to the LCBO or a wine shop next, look for a sherry or a port, something that sort of, or inversely, if you really like port or really like tequila, browse the Scotch Island, see that tequila cask age Scotch, and see let it lead you down a different path. And I think that's a really big part of, that confidence that we need when we go and are looking for wines and spirits and beers. You've just got to have that sort of adventurous spirit to go, okay, I kind of know what one thing is, and why don't I try this and see what happens? At the end of the day, it's a really good tactic to sort of expand your horizons a little bit. It's super delicious.
Yeah,
Sorry to interrupt. Anne is asking, how did you get into Scotch, Ashley?
It's kind of silly, but when I was in university, my best friend and I decided, we're living on our own, we're adults. We should be going out for a nice dinner every once in a while. We should be adults. And by nice dinner, I mean not Eastside Mario's, but the all-you-can-eat salad and breadsticks. So I think on our first dinner out, the lovely waitress, I think she brought us a dessert menu that had Scotch on one side or something. And I think we were both like, well, are we doing this? We're adults. This is what adults do. So I think I want to say that the first Scotch I ever ordered was with my best friend when I was 19 or something. It was Oban. Thank God. I think we asked the waitress for her recommendation. I think she took pity on us and, didn't blow us over with a peat bomb. It took some time to get through that first one. It was tough. But it definitely opened my eyes because, as a 19-year-old female, vodka sodas and the silliness that you drink doesn't taste like Scotch. So I was like, oh, this is real deal. This is interesting. There's layers here. Anyways, that's kind of what intrigued me or how it kickstarted my interest.
I think it shows courage to try something new, especially at such a young age, to venture somewhere new. It probably took me till 25 before I started drinking sort of beer, let alone Scotch.
Yeah, it's not like I was sitting there having a dram a night or anything like that. 1 ounce probably took us a long time to get through, but yeah.
And here you are today, on a Zoom call talking about Auchentoshan in winter 2021. Okay, moving on. Talisker, number 3, Talisker 10. This is also my top 3 Scotches.
I definitely think it's up there for me too.
Before we get into Talisker, it's the cheese corner. It's the segment in every wine coach where everyone goes, oh my God, cheese. So today I went to the cheese boutique and I was like, okay, I looked up what pairs well with Scotch, and it was well, if you like this, it'll be brie, or for this it'll be blue, and this is smoked cheese. And I was like, anyway, I found this really cool Spanish smoked cheese called Idiazabal. I didn't say it very well. I apologize. I'm going to put it in the chat because God knows I can't pronounce Spanish. But this is from the Basque region. Well, so it's not even Spanish, the language is Spanish. But this is from the Basque region. Sheep's milk cheese from Spain that has been smoked, which I thought was a really good pairing with a sort of peatier style we're drinking. So, Ash, why don't you talk about Talisker 10.
Okay.
While I eat some cheese.
Okay, well, you enjoy. I'm a little jealous. So Talisker comes from the Isle of Skye. And so if you want to throw up a little map, that this is one of the islands that's kind of that faux six region. And it's on the west, it's just off the west coast of mainland Scotland. And so this is the only distillery on that island. So it's pretty special in that kind of way of thinking. And then when you start looking at the islands and Islay, I think the big thing to think about and to keep in mind is that terroir here becomes very apparent. And you can start to understand how terroir affects Scotch in that way. Because when you smell it and when you taste it, you know, aside from just the peat, you get this kind of briny salinity that comes from being so close to the sea. I mean, they're just constantly bombarded with, you know, the sea air and everything that then affects the water from the island, and all that gets into the peat, which then gets into the Scotch. So, you know, it's very much a terroir driven Scotch. And the Isle of Skye actually is surrounded by a pretty intense kelp forest. And it can actually go out like 5 kilometers long, and it's like 20, I want to say it's like 20 meters deep or something. And so that really drives flavor in terms of how it gets into the water on the island and the peat and everything. So there's like a hardcore salinity and like a medicinal.
I love this one. I love this stuff.
Yeah.
This is my Talisker story. So mid-20s, 10 years ago, I was in my mid-20s. I was working at a place, a restaurant essentially. We do these cocktail nights, and one of them was sponsored by Talisker, so we had all these Talisker style cocktails. Then I take a bottle home, and then maybe a month later, I hold this party with all of my restaurant friends, and we get really drunk. Obviously, we're in our 20s. I just had this distinct memory of us holding a bottle of Talisker and like going like this, swigs from the bottle while we're dancing to like whatever early 2000s songs, I guess Christina Aguilera and
all the goodies.
Yeah, whatever was out that time. It has such a soft sort of spot in my heart and such great memories. I think it's just so delicious. It's kind of like bacon. It's like drinking smoked bacon. I just love it so much.
Yeah, it has this like beautiful smoky like white pepper. It's so good. And I think it's a really beautiful balance and kind of an intro to the world of like peat. And so, you know, if this like sparks your interest, if this sparks your fancy, like you can definitely then progress down to the peatier stuff, because this has such a nice balance and it's an easy introduction. Because I think like the phenol level for like the peatiness sits around like 18 to 22. And then you get into like Lagavulins like 35, and I think Ardbeg is a little bit higher, but anyways.
So in 30 seconds, what is peat for the people who like, what does peated Scotch mean?
30 seconds. So peat, I mean, essentially there's tons of peat bogs in Scotland. And peat bogs.
Fuel for fires, essentially.
Yeah, and so they can compress over time under pressure and become kind of like a coal that then go into the furnaces in the kiln that dry the malted barley, and that smoke, the peat coal burns and adds this like intense smokiness to the dry malt.
Yeah.
Is that good? I don't know.
Yep. No, that's fine. I mean, it's like it is a like perennial question to Scotch is like, what is peat mean? And like essentially it is something that you kind of have to know the distillery. But like if you're at the LCBO, like it will probably say in those 2-word descriptors that they cherish so dearly, like peaty or smoky. Like it'll be smoked, it'll have this kind of like, yeah, smoky flavor that is in, it's kind of the what drives the flavor profile.
Yeah, I mean, a good rule of thumb, and just a rule of thumb, it's like mainland Scotch, it can have peat expressions, but it's not typically the driving characteristic. And then, if you're going into the LCBO blind, just know typically an Islay Scotch is more or less gonna have a big peat expression.
Yeah.
And so if you like that or you don't like that, it's good to either steer clear or dive right in. And obviously there's like different levels of the expression and different like releases that will have it more so or not, but that's kind of a good rule of thumb to go in with, is if you like peat, explore Islay. If you don't, I would stick to more mainland Scotch.
Andrew said that it had this nori sheet seaweed salty thing, and I was like, yeah,
That's brilliant.
so I've never used that ever as a descriptor, but that's absolutely right.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, those kelp forests definitely pop themselves right into it.
And then Jason was asking, like, how long does whiskey have a shelf life, like in terms of being in the bottle, in your opinion?
Like once you open
it a Scotch won't last for.
So, from what I know, so Scotch, once it's in the bottle, it doesn't get any better. It is what it is. So it's not like wine. So you don't need to lay it down.
Yeah. Drink it. Go crazy.
I mean, I don't think I've ever had opened a bottle the last years that it goes bad. I mean, I don't think.
I think in my early days of Scotch education, it was like, it should be fine, relatively speaking, but like once it gets like a really small amount in the bottle, it kind of starts to deteriorate more fast because of the amount of oxygen. But yeah.
I think the key thing when you're looking at Scotch and you're talking about age, I think the thing to focus on and to know really is the age of the Scotch in terms of like maturation, what it says on the bottle. Just because it's a 25-year-old Scotch, like it has 25 years on the bottle and it's been maturing in a cask for 25 years, that doesn't make it better. And it might actually make it not as good. And I've heard a lot of whiskey and Scotch experts say that in terms of its quality. What you're really paying for is scarcity. But from everyone I've talked to or different documentaries I've watched, like all the experts say like it's kind of like it's spot, it's stride, it hits its stride kind of like 8 to 18 is really where like that's kind of where it shines.
I didn't know that.
You don't want to, I mean, because it can absorb too much of that cask flavor and then like just kind of overrun.
Yeah.
And you're not getting. So I think that's really important to keep in mind when you're going to the LCBO or you're ordering off a list and you see something that's like super expensive and you're like, well, that must be the best because it's like, a 40-year-old and it's the X amount of dollars. And it's like, that's actually not really how Scotch works. So,
I sent out a few questions. I sent out an email today saying, hey, does anyone have any like questions they want answered, mailbag essentially. And one of them was from David and he said, do we have any Scotches at Peter Pan on sale in our wine shop? The answer is no. I mean, I would be happy to put like unique Scotches on the shelves, but at the end of the day, the LCBO has a better price. And in terms of spirits, the only thing I can offer is like something that isn't on the LCBO shelf, because I still obviously have to pay a markup, because I would pay for it the same amount you would pay at the LCBO. So the short answer is no. But I was talking to some of my friends at Union. There's a restaurant in Auchentoshan, and they were inspired by our Scotch tasting that we were hosting. And so they were like, oh, we've got some really cool Scotches on our bar. Why don't we put a little sampler together? So they've put a little sampler together of some really cool Scotches. I wish I was that organized and had done the same. I feel really sheepish, but that's something that I think restaurants can offer, is that you don't have to spend necessarily $110 as with a Talisker to taste, to taste it. A restaurant can offer you a sampler of these different Scotches. And I think, honestly, like a Scotch sampler or any kind of spirit sampler you get at the LCBO is driven by marketing, not on like education or giving you experience. It's about, okay, we've got one cask less flavor of this Scotch, and our sister company over there needs to remove this stock because it's not selling. So we're going to put it all in a sample. Like, it's all marketing. It's all like money driven. So I think go to Union or go order their Scotch sampler. I wish I was going to say maybe I'll put some. I'm never going to put a Scotch sampler together. I had no time to do that, but I will. I hope that any restaurant people on the chat or listening or whoever, like, do these kinds of things. Like, these are experiences that we can deliver to people that LCBO cannot. And it's super interesting. Like, I've learned so much about these three Scotches that I don't think, like, the last time I tasted three Scotches in a row was literally 20 years ago. And when I was working in fine dining in Australia, and they got us a Scotch seminar at 8 o'clock in the morning on a Saturday, and we tasted some crazy Scotches. But like, it's rare for even wine people or beverage people. So I can only imagine that it's rare for like civilians. So like, restaurant people, this is what you need to do.
I also know of another restaurant. It's called Feathers.
Feathers?
Yeah. It's Feathers, and it's Pat's like, don't reveal our secret. It's up in Scarborough, and it has probably the best Scotch list I've ever seen. It's bananas. And then I follow them on Instagram, and they just announced that they're doing Scotch flights to go as well.
Oh,
so if anyone kind of lives,
I want to do that.
Upper Beaches area, it's they're listed.
Ollie's on this chat, like, capital letters, the Feathers drop.
Yeah.
Ollie, send me some Scotches. Tell me all about it.
Yeah. So, I mean, just go anywhere and support anywhere right now. Really.
This Talisker's like bacon.
I have to say, I think I prefer it without water. I don't know. What are people feeling about the water situation?
Good question. Shout out in the chat. What do you think about water? I like water. I prefer my Scotch neat. I usually drink it at the end of a really hard day. So like, give me it neat. But from a like intellectual educational perspective, like, I think water's a really good choice. There's so much going on in the chat. We're almost finished, but I got a few more things I need to say. Firstly, Sharon, it's your birthday. I was told that I have to wish you a happy birthday. Sharon's been coming to the last three chats. This is her her last three wine coaches. This is number 3. So happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
I hope you have a really great day. Oh, yeah, everyone's saying happy birthday. Wonderful. So that's really great. But I hope chat also in the chat, tell me what your favorite Scotch was. Tell me what you liked. I think that's, I mean, you're allowed to express your opinion, and I think that's super important. And my favorite was, I think number 2, in that I don't drink a lot of past flavored, past aged Scotches. So I'm a purist kind of when I come to Scotches. So for me, it exposed me to a really interesting sort of style. And I'm really kind of intrigued to explore it. It's sad that the Auchentoshan has, Olorosa sherry casks. There's probably more bottles of Auchentoshan sold than there is of that sherry that it was originally for.
Yeah.
That's a sad part of our world right now, is that fortified wines that tend to be fall by the wayside. And so I don't know, it's sad that there's more Auchentoshan triple wood sold than there is the wood that was used to age that originally housed all the liquids, which is sad. But yeah. Next week we have Chenin Blanc / Giberto. We're tasting 4 Giberto, Domaine Giberto Chenin Blancs, which for people who are nerds, he's one of the cultiest pulp producers in the Loire Valley. So if you've never had Chenin, this is a really good experience. If you love Chenin Blanc, if you love Giberto, I'm guarantee you've never had 4 in the same flight. So I'm really excited, because all 4 are made differently, aged with different ones with oak, some with old wood, some with stainless steel. So we're getting a really broad experience of what Chenin Blanc is capable of having flavors, which I think is really great. And then for those who were around last week, on Friday, Jing and Georgette are coming back to the Zoom, and we are going to taste some Chablis Premier Cru. I've also asked Aidan and Jamie, who are our 2 chefs at Peter Pan, to whip up a cool little andouille sausage dish. So if you're interested, please sign up for that. That's going to be fun. I think tickets close Wednesday morning for the Chablis dinner, but I've got Patrick Hughes, Canadian sweetheart. I've got some Moreau Nordet, more coming, Premier Cru, and some Doverset, which I think is going to be really fun as well. So some really fun things coming up. Yeah, if you want to sign up for the Giberto next week or the Chablis dinner, sign up now or in the next couple of days, because the tickets are almost going fast. But I mean, I had a lot of fun. I learned a lot about Scotch, and I really want to do more spirits because I'm not as comfortable yammering on about spirits as I am about wine, and I kind of am happy to I don't know, absorb more and learn more.
Yeah.
If you haven't figured out by now, guys or people, the only reason the topics I do aren't about what's good for you. It's honestly, I don't know anything.
That's great.
So I'm just hey, I need to learn more about Scotch. So let's do a Scotch tasting. Hey, I need to learn more about Chablis. Let's do a Chablis. It's all about me. I haven't even figured that out. So
Always all about you, Nick.
did you have fun? Ash, what was your favorite?
I had a great time. From just a drinking selfish purpose, Talisker, no water, that's my favorite. However, I was really pleasantly surprised by the Aultmore. I thought the elegance, the prettiness, that was really, really blew me away.
Mm-hmm.
And just from an educational standpoint, Auchentoshan was educational for me. Yeah.
Lauren was asking where I got my prints behind me, my Burton Ernie's. They're from Australia. I will endeavor to find the artist and next week, whenever you come back on, if someone asks me, I'll have it in my notes so I can like link to it straight away, because I think it was, everyone asked me about Bernini, but I don't have anything. Is there anything I've forgotten? Dun, dun, dun. Shavli, Sharon, happy birthday once again. Finally, before I go, I'm putting these up on YouTube. So if you ever want to revisit, you know, if you want to know what we were tasting or whatever, feel free to, you know, go to the Wine Coach YouTube channel and you'll see all of them in a row. I put up Chablis today, so Jing and Georgette are now live on the internet, and they'll never escape that. I apologize, Jing, and I apologize, Georgette, who were here. But other than that, Ash, thank you very much. It was lovely to see you and talk to you. I miss seeing your face every day, and I'm excited for the time that we get to work together again. And let's have you back. Like we were saying before, I really want to do Japanese whiskeys, so let's have you back soon, and let's explore some Japanese whiskeys, because that's my second favorite spirit after the Scotch is Japanese whiskey. So I'm excited to do that. Other than that, thank you very much, everyone. I've had a lot of fun. I hope I wasn't too drunk, and I didn't break any glasses. So I'm excited for my Dominoes, and enjoy your dinner, Ash. And
Thank you.
sleep. And everyone, have a lovely week. Thanks for tuning in once again. It's always a pleasure, and I really like doing these sessions. So hopefully we just keep on doing them as far as the eye can see. Okay, ciao, ciao.